So the day has finally come where we now have our first 2025 Hyundai Ioniq 5s on dealership lots that now qualify for the full $7,500 federal EV tax credit coming out of the new Metaplant down in Georgia. So yes, that's right, the 2025 Ioniq 5 Limited all-wheel drive, as seen in front of us, now qualifies for the full $7,500 EV federal tax credit. Now that does not mean that all 2025 Ioniq 5s will be eligible to claim the tax credit, because there's a couple different criteria you have to meet. Of course, it has to be assembled here in North America, but it also has to meet certain battery mineral sourcing and other battery hardware componentry regulations, which now all 2025 Ioniq 5s as of March production and onwards are eligible in meeting both of those two criteria to be eligible to claim the credit. Now that does not mean that all vehicles on dealership lots or in transit as of me filming this video will be eligible, but I will cover what you need to pay attention to or look for on the window sticker of each vehicle to know whether or not that vehicle actually is eligible to claim the credit, or it's one of the early 2025 productions that unfortunately is not eligible, but Hyundai has been kind of supplementing on their own with a $7,500 cash on the hood incentive. Now, just in case you're wondering, every single 2026 Ioniq 9 coming out of the Metaplant will qualify for the federal tax credit. Now, like I said, March 2025 production and onwards, when it comes to the Ioniq 5s, is when they did switch over the battery, hardware, mineral sourcing, stuff like that, to make this vehicle eligible as seen behind me. Now, one of the easiest ways to identify the Ioniq 5s, if they're eligible or not, is looking at the model code located on the Monroney label or the window sticker mounted on the vehicle or online on a dealership website. So essentially, just below the VIN up here in the left-hand corner, there's going to be a model code. You can see this one reads 51462 AEZ. Now, Hyundai changed the second digit in the sequence from a 0 to a 1 when they switched the battery hardware to make this vehicle eligible. So basically, if this reads a 50, it is not going to be eligible, but if it reads 51, it is going to be eligible. And that's just one of the two different ways that you can easily tell whether or not the Ioniq 5 will be eligible. You can also look at the build date. If it says March 2025 or after, it likely will eligible, but you want to make sure and double check that model code. And the dealership themselves can also run the specific VIN number for the vehicle you're looking at to verify within some of their internal systems, and of course the tax credit website as to whether or not that vehicle will qualify. Now, just in case you guys are wondering about the rollout and the timeline of availability with the 2026 Hyundai Ioniq 9, I'm happy to say, as of me filming this video actually a couple days ago, those vehicles started arriving in stock on dealership lots in select locations across the country. So the very first units are in stock, ready to be sold to consumers, and there's hundreds, if not maybe over 1,000 across the entire United States that are in transit to dealerships, either going to be available later this month or early sometime in the month of June. So I am happy to say that those are in transit, shipping in decent quantities out there. And like I said, there's dealerships and there's probably already their first owners of those vehicles that have already taken delivery. So you're going to see some more content coming, not only from early buyers, but also US media as Hyundai starts to hold their launch or first drive events for the Ioniq 9 here. I think this week they're holding one. Next week, I should have my first experience with the Ioniq 9 at the 2025 Mama Spring Rally. Hopefully I'll get to be able to behind the wheel and drive the vehicle and give you my first impressions there. But overall, I am very excited to hopefully be invited to one of these Hyundai media drive events for not only the Ioniq 9, but also the upcoming all-new Palisade. Because both those two vehicles are going to be very instrumental and important for the Hyundai brand, and of course the Ioniq brand, with the Ioniq 9 being a all-electric 3-row family SUV. Of course, we already know the trim levels, all the pricing, all the features, which I have covered in separate videos here on the channel. So make sure you guys check those out if you guys are curious about that. But overall, stay tuned, subscribe if you haven't already. Now, just in case you guys are curious about the 2025 Hyundai Ioniq 5 Limited all-wheel drive as seen in front of me, this one's finished in the Lucid Blue exterior with the lighter gray two-tone H-Tex leatherette on the inside. And this one you can see has the Thule crossbars mounted on the top, which absolutely changes the aesthetic in a very positive way, in my opinion. This is one of my favorite configurations and specs on dealership lots, or just available to be purchased. Unfortunately, I've not seen the new XRT trim trim level yet here in person, but I'm sure eventually here over the coming months, I will be able to see the XRT, maybe even next week at that Mama Spring Rally event. Carries over most of the colors and got a mid-cycle refresh, which gave it a slightly higher capacity battery pack, a little bit more range, new wheel designs, refreshed exterior, refreshed interior, and a handful of new features and packaging depending on the trim level that you're looking at. So if you guys want to know more about the trim levels, make sure to check out the dedicated videos I have here on the channel going over that. But nonetheless, the fully loaded limited gets Smart Park 2.0, which will automatically parallel and perpendicular park itself, front, rear, side parking sensors, projector LED lighting here at the front end, 360 cameras. Those are the new wheel designs, which I know some people out there aren't a huge fan of, but you still maintain the silver body cladding on the limited, which differs from that of the other trims. Automatic pop-out door handles. You have the Digital Key 2.0 Premium, which allows you to use the digital key functionality a little bit more seamlessly. Out back, slightly new styling with the gloss black down below, nice bright silver. LED lighting still back here, of course, H-Track all-wheel drive. One of the biggest additions on the outside is going to be the rear wiper, which was not present, or first became present on the Ioniq 5N, and then of course rolled out to the standard Ioniq 5s. And this has been one of the, I guess, buyer complaints or customer complaints since this vehicle was introduced, was how dirty without the rear wiper, and they have added that. Of course, you have the digital camera mirror up there. And then one of the other big additions on the exterior is going to be the new J3400 or NACS connector that is built into the vehicle. So this can charge as me filming this video at Tesla superchargers, albeit a little bit more slowly than that of certain CCS stations. But that is one of the first production vehicles on a large scale to feature that connector built in, and we are now seeing more 2026 models rolling out here. Just announced today, we have the Toyota BZ is getting that connector, and all of that. But overall, I love this color. You can see it does brighten up quite a bit in the sunlight. And then take a look on the interior. Of course, we have the lighter gray with some of the darker gray accents on the dash and the door panels. Love the two-tone effect, ambient color changing lighting. I love the darker gray handles here and on the switch gear. Of course, power windows, mirrors, locks, power folding mirrors, two-person memory, driver's seat, Bose audio system. There's the driver relaxation seat with all those adjustments there. These are pretty much a carryover from the pre-refresh. I think there's some changes up here with the pixel design. There's a look at the updated dashboard with the new CCNC hardware, wireless Android Auto, Apple CarPlay. You have the driver attention monitor, highway drive assist, pixel LED lights on the steering wheel, some drive mode selection, column mounted gear shift, which was already present, color heads-up display out there, wireless Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, physical buttons and controls with revisions here are brought back across the trim lineup. And there you have the new center console layout. It still does slide on this fully loaded limited. Wireless charging pad, heated ventilated seats, all physical buttons, which were formerly built into the actual touchscreen software. New storage. And up top you have the lighter gray headliner, digital mirror, home link, power shade for the fixed glass sunroof. Looks absolutely phenomenal. And overall build quality seems pretty good on these US assembled cars. The one thing I did note here driving this vehicle for a couple minutes is that the head-up display rotation seems to be slightly out of calibration. So I actually adjusted it to tilt it a little bit more one way versus having it set on 0 in the infotainment system. It just seemed a little bit crooked, if I'm not gonna lie, but easy software fix. You know, maybe they can calibrate those from factory a little bit differently. And then taking a quick look out back, of course, we have all of these same amenities out back. Heated rear seats, 2-stage. We have the manual sliding sunshade over here. Seats do recline as well as slide forward and backward. We have the 125 volt, 15 amp circuit in the second row. USB-C charge ports, map nets. There's of course the updated dashboard, and then we have AC vents in the B pillars. 60/40 split folding seats with armrest. And then coming out back, all of the 2025 Ioniq 5s with the J3400 or the NACS port on the vehicle. include the new level 1 charge cable. So that comes with every single 2025 Ioniq 5, as well as the adapter to go from CCS to J3400, both on DC fast chargers and level 2 hardware. So all of these adapters are included with every 2025 Ioniq 5, which is great on Hyundai for doing that. We have the LED lighting, cargo privacy shade, and then of course, as we know here over the last really 2 to 3 weeks or so, Hyundai has been sending out those emails with the complimentary NACS adapter for anyone who has purchased or leased one of the Ioniq vehicles or even a Kona Electric in the past couple of years, and provided those adapters via a mail order with, of course, verification that you do own or lease the vehicle currently. And yeah, overall that has been, very exciting to finally see people receiving their adapters and not asking about when the adapters will become available, because that was getting a little bit out of hand, I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, that's a look here at this 2025 Ioniq 5 Limited finished in Lucid Blue, and an update as to now these vehicles being fully eligible for the $7,500 federal EV tax credit. Now, what's gonna happen to that tax credit over the coming weeks or months? Not exactly sure, but as of me filming this video today, these are starting to arrive on dealership lots, but not every single one on dealership lots will qualify. So make sure you guys verify via the model code with the dealership and the VIN number, and putting it into the system, all of that information. Because believe it or not, there's still ones that don't qualify in transit that have not arrived yet. And then there's these that do qualify that are already for sale sitting on dealership lots. So it's kind of a little bit of an interesting time over the coming weeks and the coming month or so, until inventory is fully sold through the ones that don't qualify, where of course every 2026 model will qualify and things like that. So hopefully all of that makes sense. But anyways, if you guys enjoyed this video and or found something helpful, make sure to hit that like button below, subscribe if you haven't already. Check out my additional 2025 Ioniq 5 and Ioniq 9 content that I have already posted here on the channel, and stay tuned for that 2026 Ioniq 9 first driving impressions and things like that later next week, because I am very excited to go to the Mama Spring Rally, and of course check out some new vehicles that I don't normally have access to. Anyways, let me know what you guys think of the Ioniq 5 Limited seen in today's video and the federal tax credit, or now them being eligible. And with all that being said, I hope to see you guys in the next one.